A good Erev Shabbos. It's almost Shabbos in cold, snowy Boston. Shabbos Parshas Teruma, the portion where we read about the dedication of the tabernacle. And in the news this week is the white supremacy groups that are calling for a day of rage, a day of hate against the Jewish people tomorrow, Shabbos, especially in Chicago and in Miami and in New York. And I know us in Chestnut Hill, we've been in touch with the police, and God willing, everyone will be safe. But I think it's for us to remember the famous story of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov's parents passed away when he was a very young little child. And right before his father passed away, his father said to him, Gedenk my Yisrael, remember my Israel. Don't fear anyone but God himself. In the month of Adar, when we increase in joy and we celebrate the story of Haman, another white supremacist who tried to annihilate the Jewish people 2,500 years ago. And here we are again facing the same type of hate, the same type of extremism from people that want to kill, that want to hurt. And we know that any hate that starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. And a place that has hate loses its freedom. This week's Torah portion is a special Torah portion. It's the Torah portion where we read about the building of the tabernacle, where God says, "V'asuli migdash v'shachanti b'seicha," make me a dwelling place, and I will dwell in each one of you. God says, when you make a home for God, an edifice for God, He dwells within each and every one of us. We each carry a part of Hashem within us. And we learn in the Torah portion about how they built the tabernacle with atzei arazim, with cedar trees. And Rashi asked the question, how did they have cedar trees in the desert? And Rashi says, Amar Rabbi Tanchuma teaches us that when Jacob came down after 22 years of not seeing Joseph, came down to Egypt, he took with him cedar trees from Israel. And he told Joseph to plant them in Egypt, because when the Jewish people will have to go out of Egypt, they're going to have to build a tabernacle for God in the desert, and they're going to need cedar wood, and they'll take this cedar wood. And the question all the rabbis asked, really, was there no better way? Send an Uber, a Lyft. Why are you schlepping all the way from Israel hundreds of years before cedar wood, so that when the Jewish people leave Egypt, they should have wood to build a tabernacle? And the Rebbe says something so remarkable. The Rebbe says, when the Jewish people were suffering in Egypt under the brutality of Pharaoh, a Hitler of his time, yes, they had a promise from Abraham hundreds of years earlier that they will be redeemed from Egypt. But while you're sitting and suffering, you can't see past the pain. So Jacob, who was the forefather of the Jewish people, the one we're named after, Bnei Yisrael, understood that how is he going to be able to help the Jewish people survive this long exile and have the hope and the courage and the faith to know that they will get past it. He told Joseph to plant these trees in Egypt. And every time the Jews were suffering and in pain, they looked up, and their parents said to them, and they looked and they said, look, these are the trees that Jacob brought from Egypt, and he planted it here from Israel, and he planted it here in Egypt, so we should have hope, because there is going to be a day that we will overcome this. Says the Rebbe, in every generation, we have a Rebbe, we have a leader, a Nasi. The word Nasi, a leader, means Nitzut Shel Yaakov Avinu, a spark of Jacob. Someone who instills us with hope and courage and faith and confidence in who we are. And that's what the Rebbe tried to do for so long. And that's what we need now. When we're faced with fear, with hate, with rage, we have to be strong. We have to be proud. We have to walk out tomorrow, and instead of being fearful, we have to put on a kippah. Instead of going to the mall, we should go to shul. Instead of staying at home, we should go out and know and let it be known that we are Jewish, we are proud. that Am Yisrael Chai, that we're stronger than ever, and that we will overcome. And let's hope that this hope, these cedar trees, will give us that courage and that strength. And we'll have an Hapachu this Purim again over all the haters of Israel and the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.